Welcome to another edition of The Word. I'm happy to have you here with me today. I see I have no suggestions in the comments still, but hey, that's okay. I'm going to continue to do my best to spread the word as God has tasked me to do. Now, you may notice the videos are not weekly anymore, and that's because no suggestions, and I don't want to be redundant and just keep talking about the same topics over and over. Rest assured, though, the videos are going to keep coming, and they're going to keep coming as new suggestions are given to me by God, my Lord. And of course, if you all want to contribute, that's fine. Now, this week's subject material is inspired by a recent encounter with a family member, and the title is going to be Selfishness and Greed. So let's start this off with a passage from 1 Timothy chapter 6 verse 10, and that states, "For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. Some people eager for money have wandered from the faith and have pierced themselves with many griefs." Well, this speaks volumes. I mean, this could not say it better. Now, the person I refer to, and of course I'm not going to name any names, but this person came into quite a large sum of money. And over the course of a little less than a year, most of it's already been spent. Now, despite getting 2 new vehicles, new laptops, tablets, phones, computers, games, toys, and probably a few needed items as well, family's miserable. All that money and all that stuff, and I still hear about how bad their relationship is. I hear about the arguments and the grief. It runs deep, and in fact, one of them has a drug addiction. It's not only drained the person, but it's drained their wealth with drugs. Now, in Ecclesiastes verse 10, it says, "Whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income." Now, to add this to the family I'm talking about, they're very greedy about their money. It was a godsend. I mean, it was free money. They did not earn this money. It was just given to them. And they squandered God's gift over mostly material possession and drugs. But ask them to share or even loan a small amount of that, and they're going to tell you there's no way. They got to tell you how tight things are and how much they got to have every last cent. But then the next thing you know, a few days later, they turn around, they purchased another unnecessary toy. In 2 Timothy chapter 3 verses 1 and 2, we read, "But mark this, there will be terrible times in the last days. People will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money. They're going to be boastful, proud, abusive, disobedient to their parents. They're going to be ungrateful. They're going to be unholy." Again, this passage speaks miles of the family that I speak of. But this is exactly what happens when you worship money and yourself over God. The Father is horribly inconsiderate of those less fortunate. He believes the sick and disabled should work like the strong and healthy. He has no compassion at all. He's selfish, greedy. He just doesn't care about other people other than themselves. And this is the mark of the beast, not God. It's evil, not good. People who worship their money and themselves, they're not following any path that God has put before them. Now, I'm not saying that you should not make sure your family has a roof over their head or that they're fed. Okay, you got to take care of your family. That's expected. I mean, you're supposed to do that. But you always got to keep your eyes on God. You got to follow the lesson plan in the Bible, and that is not greedy. So here's an example of a family. See the other side of the coin, that walks with God. At least people are poor. They have very few things. There's 2 older and disabled people that live there, and there's 3 younger adults. 1 adult is also disabled. So there's 3 disabled people. 1 studying to be a writer, and 1 works full time. 1 person. He's the son, he works, and he makes good money. And he uses the money to pay rent and all the bills for the house, cable, everything, and they live okay. They got food. And he's got extra money beyond that. Now, does he reward himself like the father of the other family claims he does? No. Instead, the son gives to his family. These poor people are all about giving. In fact, they would share their last dime to someone in need. Does the son disrespect the older or disabled that he cares for? No. In fact, he goes out of his way to provide and care for everyone but himself. Now, one of the older disabled adults isn't even part of the family. It's just the boyfriend of his mother who lives there. And still, the son gives to this person without guilting him, without disrespecting him. He's caring and compassionate. That is the mark of a true Christian. Helping others cheerfully for the Lord. No strings, no guilt, no shame, just happy giving. And it brings great joy to his heart. You should see him. The kid's lit up like a Christmas tree. God's flowing through him. In Matthew chapter 6, verse 24, Jesus said, "No one can serve 2 masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other." You cannot serve both God and money. And that could not be more correct. And get this, the poor family is the happy one. They are rewarded by God. You see, when you're not greedy and you place your life in God's hands, He will look out for you. He will provide joy to your heart. Now in Matthew chapter 6, verse 21, Jesus says, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." If you worship yourself and your money, then you simply cannot be one with God. You're supposed to be selfless. You're supposed to be generous. The treasure gained from that mindset, it far outweighs any amount of money that one could hoard. Now the father of the other family, he had no problem rewarding himself. He bought a brand new expensive motorcycle, paid cash for it. At the same time, he couldn't arrange to get his wife to the hospital for surgery for a broken bone. All he did was make excuses. "Oh, they won't let me do that this day." He's always got an excuse for his behavior. And that's another mark of one who does not walk with God. You've got an excuse for every bad thing you do. Unfortunately, you see these self-centered people everywhere. I mean, that's not just one example. In fact, you see more of this than you see true Christians. Just going to church doesn't make you a Christian. Talking the talk. You gotta walk the walk. You gotta walk with God. You gotta walk with God. Now, you should always be compassionate to those who are less fortunate. You should care for your family, yes, but also share your excess with the poor or disabled. You don't reward yourself. Let God reward you. It's a far greater reward than anything you can buy with money. Trust me. Now, in Deuteronomy chapter 15, verses 7 and 8, it states, "If anyone is poor among your fellow Israelites, in any of the towns of the land the Lord is giving you, do not be hard-hearted or tight-fisted toward them. Rather, be open-handed and freely lend them whatever they need. So it's telling you right there in the Bible how you should act. God does not ask you to sit in judgment of the less fortunate. He asks you to be selfless and share. He doesn't ask you to work for yourself. He asks that you work for Him. We work for the glory of God. We're not meant to carve our own paths. We are meant to follow God's path. And if we follow the path set before us, if we set aside our greed, if we refuse to worship all evil, which includes money and being prideful, if we do all these things, God will provide. God will reward. You're going to feel His reward every day. Folks, always remember the big picture. It's simple. Love and kindness are the lesson of the Bible. That is God's Word in a nutshell. Practice that and let God into your heart, and you will be saved. I want to thank you for joining me today, and I hope, and I'm talking to one specific person, but I hope I've touched the heart of just one person. If just one viewer turns to God, it'll be a wonderful thing. Remember, God is calling to you. He waits patiently at the door to your heart. He wants to be in your heart. It does not matter how tainted your past. Just look at me. I'm not perfect. I certainly wasn't perfect. Folks, until next time, God bless you.